My wife and I have been together for 8 years. Married the last 5. We met in college. We have both been working hard trying to get ahead in our careers and incomes. Within a few months of our marriage, my wife started gaining weight. She had been overweight before college. She had told me how she felt inferior to other women when she was overweight and never wanted to be there again. 3 years into our marriage, she was 70 pounds overweight. This affected her self-esteem and our intimate relationship. I maintained my weight by going to the gym on a regular basis. I always encouraged my wife to attend with me, but she always declined. She didn't like the hardcore weightlifters gym I attended. When she hit 75 pounds plus, she decided to start going to a gym. She got a membership at another more mainstream gym that catered more to women. The gym had many more treadmills and bikes. They also had early morning aerobic classes, which my wife attended before work. After a year, my wife lost all her weight and more. My wife's self-esteem was back, and our intimate relationship improved. After 6 more months, my wife was looking better than ever. She was now also getting a fake tan, letting her hair grow out, and dressing nicer. She looked fantastic. I looked forward to our intimate moments more than ever. Unfortunately, our intimate relationship began to dwindle. After a few months, almost nothing. She told me she was too tired from her workouts and encouraged me to take care of myself. The first time she told me this, I felt like she had spit on me. Now being in the proverbial between a rock and a hard place. The rock being trusting relationship and the hard place being, is she cheating? Not being the type of person that sits around hoping for the best. Forget the rock. If I am wrong, I will fess up and have to kiss her ass for a few months. Whereas doing nothing lets self-doubt into my life. Life is hard enough already. I put a voice-activated recorder in the lining of her purse and turned on location tracking on her phone. I found she was meeting someone special on Tuesday and Friday mornings. She was spending intimate time with a trainer in the gym on those days, at his apartment. His name was Jim. He was one of those health nuts, that every moment of his life was dedicated to looking good and being as fit as he possibly could. His social media was filled with pictures of himself posing, working out, or participating in some type of race. I'm not sure how I handled the next 3 weeks. I was in a mental fog of despair, angry one moment and depressed the next. I began working out longer in the morning and added a routine after work. I felt inadequate and felt improving my looks would win my wife back. I cleaned up and put on more muscle, but my wife was in her own world. She didn't notice how ripped I had become. She didn't even notice how depressed I was when I was at my lowest. Screw her. Financially, divorce would be easy. We rented an apartment. We had some money in our joint checking account. Our cars cost about the same and were about the same age. Our real savings was in her 401k savings. My work did not offer a 401k. Now for the revenge. I know. Take the moral high road and don't waste your energy on anything that doesn't improve your own life. Don't look backwards, move forward with your life. Nope. I was going to get some personal satisfaction and burn the situation down. I considered this to be my personal therapy to never look back, once I was finished. My plan was simple. Their fitness brought them together. I would take that away from them. Do not let her profit from her betrayal. Loverboy had an apartment on the first floor that faced a pool area. I bought a camera that you screwed into a light fixture, then screwed the light bulb into the camera. I pointed the camera at the Loverboy's front door. What a surprise. Loverboy was meeting with 3 other women from the gym, all married. They didn't even bother to take off their wedding rings. I also learned that Loverboy didn't lock his door when he went to the pool, and a neighbor would come by now and then to invite him back to her apartment. They were together for around an hour. So during one of his visits to her apartment, I visited his apartment and put cameras in every room. Luckily for me, he had those USB phone power adapters in every room. I replaced them with USB power adapters with motion-activated hidden cameras. I also connected them to my home computer so they would continually stream. I also took pictures of everything in his apartment. So I watched a couple of weeks of videos. I have to admit, he was meeting with some attractive women from the gym. My wife is a very attractive woman, but two of the other women were more attractive, even though they were a bit older. The third woman was my wife's age, but about 20 pounds overweight. Their encounters followed a predictable pattern of intimacy and interaction. He did have a confident demeanor, but by no means was he extraordinary. All three women were paying for his services. It looked like $100 each from the attractive woman and $200 for the overweight woman. My wife wasn't paying for anything, she was trading something with him. I later found substances, and the bottle identified them as human growth hormones. Loverboy was taking human growth hormones and some performance-enhancing substances. The neighbor came by occasionally on the weekends to his apartment. They would spend time together. So, I told my wife I had a business trip to LA. I then rented a car and went down to Tijuana. I hired a professional for the day. My plan was to get her to get multiple prescriptions from doctors for birth control pills. When I told her what I wanted, she told me she knew a better way. She knew a pharmacist that would give her as much as she wanted. She mentioned all the girls used him for various medications. I asked if he would be able to provide it in a liquid form for a syringe. She said yes, but it was probably intended for animals. She called him on her phone and set it up. I drove her to his pharmacy. She introduced us. I told him what I needed, paid him, and we left. I gave her 4 times what she said she made in a day. And yes, I did get a service from her. Remember, I hadn't been intimate with anyone for almost a year. Lover injected himself every few days with a hidden stash of substances. Using his spare house key I had found during my first visit, I removed all the testosterone from his vials and replaced it with estrogen. I then went home and replaced all the human growth hormones my wife had with testosterone. Almost 2 months later, my wife began showing the effects first. Her muscles began to get noticeably bigger, and she began to lose her temper. Her skin also began to break out more easily. I suggested she try a different tanning spray. Loverboy began to look noticeably softer. I saw him looking upset after weighing himself on his bathroom scale. During my wife's weekly visits, she was like a different person. He started taking additional substances to maintain his performance. My wife first voiced her concerns that the human growth hormone he was giving her was different or in a greater dosage than before. He reassured her that was not the case. Loverboy, noticing that he was changing, increased his injections. 4 months into Loverboy's treatment, he lost all his connections, including my wife. He couldn't maintain his previous lifestyle and seemed to have lost interest. My wife couldn't stop herself from angry outbursts, followed by massive mood swings. She would then be mad at herself for losing control, followed by crying. Loverboy lost his job at the gym when he broke down crying in front of everyone. Someone had teased him about his appearance. From what a friend told me, he tried to cry on my wife's shoulder, and she wouldn't let him. When he tried again, begging her, she lost her temper and punched him in the stomach. He actually laid on the floor, holding his stomach, crying. My wife stood over him, taunting him, calling him names. She was also kicked out of the gym. Neither Loverboy nor my wife went to the doctor to get tested. I assumed they had been taking too many illegal substances to want to hear what a doctor had to say. Loverboy started developing physical changes and was losing his hair. He finally went to a doctor. Blood tests revealed he had hormonal imbalances in his body. They suspected his thyroid and ended up surgically removing it. He will be on treatment for the rest of his life. As for my wife, she joined another gym but just wasn't trying as hard, seemed to have lost her motivation, her connection. She gained all the weight back, started losing her hair, and got a skin condition over her whole back, chest, rear, thighs, and face. Now she was begging me for intimacy. I told her I would not be intimate with her until I knew that her condition was not contagious. Because of her condition, I hadn't slept in the same bed with her in months. My wife finally went to a doctor. By now, the substances had worn off. The doctor scheduled my wife for an allergist and gave her some pills to help with her depression. My wife was hitting rock bottom emotionally. The next morning, there was an envelope on the front seat of my wife's car. Inside was a voice player, 2 pictures, and a note. The first picture was of my wife in a compromising situation with Jim. The second showed my wife with a substance. The drug label was clearly visible on the container, on the table next to her. The letter said, "I know you were having an intimate relationship with Jim. I have video and voice recordings. I will leave you instructions to leave me $10,000 in the 20s, or I will go to your husband with the evidence and the authorities with the illegal substance evidence. I will contact you later on how to get me the money." My wife listened to the tape in our driveway as I peeked out at her. She heard the sound of her and Jim's interaction. There was also a piece of conversation where my wife was telling Jim what a loser I was. I could see she was in shock when she heard the tape. The shock was then replaced with anger. My wife started her car and sped off. I watched her on the GPS. She was headed straight to Jim's apartment. Watching the pool camera, I saw her beating on Jim's door. When he opened the door, she jumped on him and started beating him. Before he could get her off and calm down, she had injured his face badly and pulled a large chunk of his hair out. He didn't have much hair left to lose. From the recorders in his apartment. Jim: "What in the hell is wrong with you?" Wife: "You're trying to blackmail me, you worthless piece." Jim: "I'm trying to what?" Wife: "Blackmail me, or you will tell my husband and tell the cops about my substance use." Jim: "Why in the hell would I do that? I have more to lose than you if it came out." Wife: "Jerk! You don't have a wife to lose." Jim: "The substances. I could go to jail for the substances." My wife stopped talking and held out the letter. Jim read the letter and said, "Damn. Sorry, this is happening to you, but it is not me. In fact, I was just packing the last of my things. I am moving back in with my mom and dad till I can find a job and get healthy again." He handed her the letter. My wife finally noticed most of Jim's things were gone or in boxes. She then noticed that Jim had 2 black eyes and a cast from his right knee down. My wife: "What the hell happened to you?" Jim: "Your husband is not the only husband upset with me." My wife glared at Jim. "What do you mean?" Jim: "There are 3 other wives who keep confronting me." My wife screamed, "You were with 3 other women while you were with me." Jim said, "I'm sorry," and started to cry. Wrong answer. My wife grabbed his t-shirt and punched him hard, breaking his nose. Jim fell backwards onto his rear, leaving my wife looking down at him, still holding his shredded t-shirt in her hand. Wife: "I told you you were worthless. If I find out you have anything to do with this, I am going to harm you." Jim sat on the floor crying as my wife stormed out the door. That night after work, I could tell my wife was agitated. I didn't say a word. I left another letter in her car telling her to put the money into a gym bag and leave it in the trunk of her car when she was at the gym that day. When she came out from the gym, the bag was gone, and in its place was a cell phone. Using a voice disguising device, I called my wife the next day and told her the $10,000 was just a test. I would leave her alone if she would cash out her 401k and give it to me. She lost her temper and told me she would never do that. I told her thanks for the $10,000 and hoped she enjoyed her divorce, jail time, and her relatives seeing what an unfaithful woman she was. After trying to negotiate with me, I sent her one of the videos. She finally gave in. It took a month for her to get the money out. I told her to leave the money in her husband's trunk, and that I would retrieve the money while he was at the gym that evening. I reassured her she would never hear from me again, especially since she was out of money. By her GPS, I saw she was trailing me. I saw she parked down the street to watch my car. I bought a case of protein powder, gave the trainer my car keys, and asked him to put it into the trunk of my car. While he did it, I went and worked out. When I got back from the gym that evening, I saw her sneak outside and look in my trunk. The box of protein was there, but the money was gone. A few days later, I took her to a very expensive restaurant for our anniversary. A jacket and tie are required for the men and dresses for the women. During drinks, I served her the divorce papers with pictures from her affair. Her first question was, "How did you get these?" I told her I had found them on my front seat after going to the gym. She started crying, told me she loved me, and that we could work through this. I told her the evidence showed she had been meeting with him for almost a year. I had also heard some of the horrible things she had said about me. I had even heard her planning on taking all our money and leaving with him. She cried and told me she would be the best wife a husband could want. I told her calmly, "What? That's what got us into all this mess. You lost weight and improved your attitude, and what did you do with it? You betrayed me. Now you are back to being a depressed person, and I'm supposed to take you back?" I paused for a few moments, staring at her. "You're just a disappointment." She sat frozen as my words bounced around inside her head. She recognized them but couldn't quite remember where she had heard them before. Then there it was, the recognition in her eyes. As expected, she blew up big. She screamed at the top of her voice, "You son of a blip, I am going to kill you," as she threw her drink at me. Pushing away from the table, wiping my face, I accidentally pushed the table into her stomach. She took this as an insult. She picked up her salad and threw it at me. She then grabbed a steak knife and leaped over the table trying to harm me. The tip of the knife cut through my jacket. By now, I was backpedaling fast and she was coming after me. Luckily, she did the classic overhand stab, and I was able to grab her arm. Two waiters then helped me to wrestle her to the ground as she screamed out how she was going to kill me. We managed to get the knife away and her onto her stomach on the floor. The two waiters sat on her back until the police arrived. When the police arrived, she was still seething. When the waiters got off her back, she surprised everyone by jumping up and trying to stab me again with a knife that she had been laying on. The police tasered her, put her into handcuffs, and then took her away. When the police questioned me, I briefly explained I had served her divorce papers for adultery. I told them I started recording everything after she started yelling at me. I did not tell them I started it right after my disappointment remark. After watching the video, they asked me to send them a copy, then they left. The video evidence of the restaurant fight and her attempt to harm me got her some jail time. That, plus her evidence of adultery, got me a favorable split during the divorce. In fact, I got all the cash and all of the assets except her car. Since my wife had stolen a large portion of our marital assets, her 401k, the judge told my wife he believed the missing money, the $10,000 and the 401k, were in her possession or in her lover's possession. Either way, she was responsible for paying me back my owed share. She declared vehemently that she did not have the money and her blackmail story didn't fly at all. She even tried to accuse me of orchestrating it, but she only had accusations. She had to pay me alimony for 5 years to make up the difference from her theft. As for me, I had a great weekend in Las Vegas and miraculously won almost as much as my wife had stolen from me. After paying the tax on $10,000 plus the 401k amount, I was able to reinvest the money long-term in my own retirement fund. With my salary ever improving and the 5 years of alimony, I was able to buy my own condo and a couple of really nice cars. And to this day, I wonder why people are so stupid as to betray the trust of the person they love and trust the most, and then expect that person not to betray their trust in return. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.